Manhattan in late autumn glowed with neon lights and an unceasing rhythm of life. The Empire Heights Hotel, a magnificent 50-story glass tower, stood tall in the city's heart, like a symbol of opulence. Inside, Maya Johnson, a 27-year-old African-American woman, walked down the top-floor hallway with heavy steps. Her warm brown eyes, usually shining with determination, were now dimmed by exhaustion. This was her third consecutive 12-hour shift of the week, but Maya had no other choice. Her mother, Evelyn, was battling a chronic illness, and her younger sister, Zoe, needed money to pursue her dream of going to college. Maya was the pillar of her family, and she couldn't allow herself to fall. She wore her hotel uniform, a crisp white shirt, a fitted black skirt, and worn-out low heels. In her hand was a checklist clipboard listing the final tasks to be completed in the presidential suite, a place reserved only for the wealthiest guests. "Just one more room," Maya whispered, trying to shake off her drowsiness. Her mother's words echoed in her mind. "You don't just work, you excel. That's how we prove our worth." For a black woman like Maya, working in this luxury hotel wasn't just a job. It was a battle for recognition in a world filled with prejudice. She swiped the electronic key card and the door to the presidential suite opened with a soft click. The luxurious space still took her breath away, even though she'd seen it many times. The marble floor sparkled under the soft golden glow of the crystal chandelier. Floor-to-ceiling glass walls revealed a dazzling view of Manhattan skyscrapers, woven with lights like a living painting. A delicate jasmine scent from the diffuser mingled in the air, creating a warm and distant atmosphere. This was the world of people Maya only knew from finance articles and gossip among coworkers. Billionaires, celebrities, and politicians. Maya began her tasks with practiced precision. She checked each pillow on the king-size bed to ensure it was perfectly aligned. She wiped a nearly invisible speck of dust off the walnut desk. Every movement was exact, though her hands trembled slightly from fatigue. She pictured the stack of medical bills on the kitchen counter in her Brooklyn apartment, and Zoe's smile when she received her college acceptance letter. "I can't stop now," she told herself, though her eyelids felt as heavy as lead. As she finished cleaning the bathroom mirror, Maya caught her reflection. Her face, with smooth brown skin and neatly tied curly hair, showed clear signs of exhaustion. She remembered Carla, a veteran coworker, once saying, "Here they see your skin color before your capability." That sentence had cut into Maya's pride like a blade, but she'd learned to turn it into motivation. She didn't just want to be good, she had to be better than everyone else. With her work nearly complete, Maya sat in a velvet armchair in the corner of the room, planning to rest for just a minute. The chair was so comfortable it felt like she was sinking into a dream. "Just 5 minutes," she murmured, closing her eyes. The city's noise faded, swallowed by the room's silence. She didn't hear the soft footsteps approaching or notice the door quietly opening. Ethan Caldwell, 35 years old. A white American billionaire known as the Silent Storm of Wall Street entered the presidential suite. He had just returned from a business trip in London, earlier than expected. With dark brown hair, sharp gray eyes, and a perfectly tailored gray suit, Ethan exuded power effortlessly. He ran Caldwell Enterprises, a financial empire worth billions, and this suite was his home whenever he stayed in New York. Yet even in this familiar space, Ethan always felt an emptiness he could never fill. A result of losing both parents in a car accident during his childhood. He stopped at the doorway, his gaze sweeping the room before landing on Maya. She was curled up in the chair arms, wrapped around herself for warmth. Her face peaceful, yet still tense. Ethan frowned. According to hotel policy, he should call security immediately. A staff member asleep in a guest room was a serious violation, grounds for immediate dismissal. But something made him hesitate. Maybe it was the vulnerability in her sleep, or how her wrinkled uniform was still neat, as if she carried her dignity even in exhaustion. Ethan stepped closer enough to see her face. He recognized her. Maya Johnson, the employee colleagues often praised for her dedication, though he had never spoken to her directly. Her personnel file appeared in his mind. Outstanding evaluations, 0 absences, VIP guests, once wrote thank you letters for her service. But what held him in place wasn't the file. It was the raw honesty radiating from her. Maya seemed like an exception in his world of fake smiles and veiled ambition. What should he do? Call management. Wake her up. But then, almost involuntarily, Ethan reached for the cashmere throw on the sofa and gently draped it over her. The act surprised even himself. He, a man known for keeping emotional distance, was now protecting a stranger. As he tucked the blanket around her, Maya stirred slightly. Her eyes fluttered open, meeting his gray ones in a daze. Time seemed to stop. Then reality crashed in like a wave. Maya jolted upright, the blanket falling to the floor. "Oh, God! Mr. Caldwell!" she gasped, her voice trembling in panic. "I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to." Her heart pounded. This was the end. She'd lose her job, everything. Images of her mother in a hospital bed and Zoe's college dreams flashed through her mind, choking her breath. Ethan raised a hand, signaling her to stay calm. "Breathe, Ms. Johnson," he said, his voice low, but free of anger. Maya stood frozen, awaiting judgment. But instead of scolding, Ethan looked at her with curious eyes. "I should fire you," he said, more to himself than her. "But I want to know why someone works so hard they fall asleep in a guest suite instead of resting at home." Maya blinked, unsure she heard him right. She straightened up, regaining composure. "Sir, I just finished my tasks. I only..." Sat down for a moment. "I apologize. It won't happen again." Her voice was firm, though her heart raced wildly. Ethan studied her, recognizing the pride in how she stood and didn't beg, and how she only owned her actions. That intrigued him even more. "What's your name?" he asked, though he already knew. "Maya Johnson," she replied, adding a respectful "sir" to maintain distance. "All right, Maya Johnson," Ethan said, walking to the minibar and retrieving 2 water bottles. He handed one to her. "Sit down. Tell me, what makes you work yourself to collapse?" Maya hesitated, gripping the bottle tightly. Was this a trap or an opportunity? She looked into his eyes, searching for deception, but found only rare sincerity. Her heart told her this moment, however strange, could change everything. She took a deep breath, sat down, and began to speak. Maya Johnson sat stiffly in the velvet armchair of the Empire Heights Hotel's presidential suite, her hands gripping the water bottle Ethan Caldwell had just handed her. Her mind was spinning. Just minutes ago, she thought she was about to lose her job, her family's only lifeline. Now she was face to face with the most powerful man she had ever met, who had just asked her to tell him about her life. Ethan's sharp yet unjudging gray eyes made her feel safe and uneasy. Was this an opportunity or a trap? She wasn't sure, but her instincts told her that this moment could change everything. Ethan sat on the sofa across from her, close enough to foster intimacy, yet distant sufficient to maintain professionalism. He unbuttoned his jacket, a relaxed gesture, though still radiating control. "I don't like beating around the bush. Ms. Johnson," he said, his voice low and clear. "You work harder than anyone I've seen here. But why? What drives you to push yourself this far?" Maya took a deep breath, trying to organize her thoughts. She wasn't used to opening up to strangers, especially not to someone like Ethan Caldwell, whose name appeared in the financial magazines her mother sometimes read. But what did she have to lose? If he was going to fire her, she might as well leave with her dignity intact. "My family, sir." She began, her voice steady, even as her heart pounded. My mother has a chronic illness, COPD. The medical bills pile up faster than I can pay them. My sister Zoe is in college. She wants to become a nurse, and I don't want her to drop out because of money. I work to keep them afloat. Ethan leaned forward slightly, eyes focused. And you? What do you want for yourself? His question was simple, but it stunned Maya. How long had it been since she thought about her dreams? She pressed her lips together, searching for an answer. I want to know that I've done everything I could to give my family a better life, she said. That's my dream. A faint smile played on Ethan's lips. Not the polite smile she often saw from VIP guests, but something more genuine. That's a worthy dream, he said. But it sounds more like a responsibility than a dream. His remark struck a hidden chord within Maya, where she had tucked away her desires in favor of duty. She didn't respond. She only looked down at the bottle in her hands, her fingers tracing the paper label. Ethan leaned back, easing the tension in the room. You know, he said, his voice softening. I grew up without that family. Maya looked up, surprised at his openness. My parents died when I was young. My grandfather raised me, but he only taught me how to build wealth, not how to live. I built Caldwell Enterprises from the ground up. But sometimes I wonder if I'm living for myself or just for the numbers on a balance sheet. His confession caught Maya off guard. She had always imagined people like Ethan lived in a perfect world where everything came easy. But the loneliness in his voice was real, unmistakably human. She wrestled with the thought of replying, then decided to try. So, what do you do to feel alive? She asked, her voice soft but curious. Ethan chuckled, a rare, warm sound. Sometimes I find it in unexpected moments, like discovering an employee asleep in my suite and realizing she might have something to teach me about the meaning of perseverance. Maya felt her cheeks grow warm. She couldn't tell if he was teasing or sincere, maybe both, judging by the look in his eyes. She stood up, trying to re-establish professional distance. Mr. Caldwell, I truly apologize for tonight. If you give me another chance, I promise it won't happen again. She prepared to leave, but Ethan raised a hand, gesturing for her to sit back down. Not so fast, he said. I'm not going to fire you. I want to offer you something. Maya frowned, guarded. Ethan continued, his voice calm yet persuasive. This hotel needs a new manager for the VIP floor, someone who can handle the most demanding guests professionally and gracefully. Your record shows you excel at both. I want you to take the role. Maya blinked, unable to believe what she'd just heard. VIP floor manager, she repeated, her voice trembling slightly. But why me? There are others with more experience. She thought of Carla, who had worked here for over a decade, and the wary looks she often received, the unspoken judgments tied to her skin color. Ethan tilted his head slightly, as if her question surprised him. Because you're the best. You work not just for a paycheck, but for a greater purpose. That's something you can't teach. He paused, eyes locking onto hers. But I need to know if you dare to accept this challenge. This isn't an easy role, and people will doubt you, not because of your ability, but for other reasons. His words struck at Maya's deepest fear, being judged for where she came from, for the color of her skin. But they also stirred a fire within her. She had spent her life proving her worth. This might be her chance to do it on a bigger stage. I'll think about it, she said at last, her voice firm. But I don't want special treatment, sir. If I accept, I want it to be because I earned it. Ethan nodded, a flicker of admiration in his eyes. I expect nothing less. Speak to Mrs. Harris tomorrow morning. She'll review the details. He stood, signaling the conversation was over. But as Maya reached the door, he called after her. And Maya? Don't call me sir anymore. Call me Ethan. She turned surprised by the sudden informality. I'll try, Ethan. She gave a small smile, the first one that night before stepping out. The door closed behind her, but her heart was still racing. She didn't know if she'd just walked into an opportunity or a risk, but something in Ethan's eyes told her it might be both. As Maya entered the elevator, the dim light fell across her face. She looked at her reflection in the mirrored wall, wondering if she had the strength to step into Ethan Caldwell's world, a world of power, prejudice, and possibilities she had never dared to imagine. But deep down she knew this conversation was only the beginning. Something greater awaited, and though she was afraid, she was ready. The sun had just risen over the Brooklyn skyline, casting a soft golden light across the old brick buildings. Maya Johnson stepped into the family's small apartment, her worn-down heels clicking gently against the wooden floor. Last night in the Empire Heights Hotel presidential suite, she had come face-to-face with Ethan Caldwell, the most powerful man she had ever met, and walked away with a surprising offer: VIP floor manager. Those words echoed in her mind, sounding like a dream and a burden. She removed her uniform, trying to shake off the exhaustion, but her thoughts remained tangled. Did she have what it took to enter Ethan's world, where every glance was a judgment? The sixth-floor apartment, with its chipped, cream-painted walls and the faint scent of toasted bread in the air, was where Maya felt safest. In the kitchen, her mother Evelyn sat at the small wooden table, an oxygen tube fitted to her nose. Though chronic obstructive pulmonary disease had weakened her body, her eyes remained sharp, as if she could see straight into her daughter's soul. Up early, Maya Evelyn asked, her warm voice tinged with suspicion. Another long night shift. Maya nodded and set her bag down. Just got home, Mama. She poured herself a glass of water, avoiding her mother's gaze. But Evelyn wasn't so easily misled. Something's not right, she said, putting down the morning paper. You're never this quiet. Tell Mama what's going on. Maya hesitated. She wanted to keep the encounter with Ethan to herself until she could make sense of it. But her mother always knew when she was hiding something. She sat down and took a deep breath. I met Mr. Caldwell last night, she began, her voice low. The owner of Caldwell Enterprises. I fell asleep in his suite after my shift. He didn't fire me. Instead, he offered me a promotion to manage the VIP floor. Evelyn narrowed her eyes, fingers tightening around her coffee mug. Fell asleep in a VIP room and got promoted. Her voice brimmed with doubt. Men like Caldwell don't do anything without a reason, Maya. What does he want from you? Her mother's question cut like a knife. Maya felt her pride ache. He said, I deserved it, she replied, staying calm. My record is good, Mama. I work hard. But even as she spoke, she heard the uncertainty in her voice. Did Ethan truly see her talent, or was this pity? An attempt to make up for finding her in such a vulnerable state? Evelyn leaned forward, her gaze softening but still stern. You're the hardest working person I know. But Mr. Caldwell's world money and power is not built for us. They see your skin before they see who you are. And a man like him, his kindness often comes with conditions. Her words hit a deep-rooted fear in Maya. She remembered the times she'd been passed over for promotion, the scrutinizing stares from coworkers like Carla, who once said, You're lucky just to work here. Racial and class prejudice was nothing new, but the thought that Ethan might have hidden motives made her chest tighten. Mama, I don't think he's like that, she said, though her voice lacked conviction. Listen to me. He was different. Before Evelyn could respond, Zoe, Maya's 19-year-old sister, walked into the kitchen, her curly hair tied high, eyes bright with energy. Who listened to you? Zoe asked, dropping her stack of nursing textbooks on the table. She glanced between her mother and sister, sensing the tension. What's going on? Maya recounted the story more briefly, focusing on the promotion opportunity. Zoe listened, mouth agape, then burst out. Girl, this is huge. VIP floor manager. You'd be running that entire level. And Mr. Caldwell picked you. Wow, that man's got taste. Zoe's excitement clashed sharply with Evelyn's caution, leaving Maya torn. Zoe, calm down, Evelyn said firmly. This isn't a game. If Maya takes this, people will notice. They'll say she didn't earn it, that she was chosen because… She paused, but Maya knew what she meant, because she was a black woman, because she didn't belong to that elite world. Because of what Mama Maya's voice was sharper than she intended. Because I work myself to the bone. Because I've never missed a day, I earned this. But even as she defended herself, a knot formed in her stomach. She remembered Ethan's eyes, sincere, but undeniably magnetic. Was she letting emotion cloud her judgment? Zoe grabbed her sister's hand, eyes glowing. Don't listen to what people will say. You always tell me to believe in myself. Now it's your turn. Take the job. If Mr. Caldwell sees your talent, that's his business, not anyone else's. Evelyn sighed and placed her hand over Maya's. I just want to protect you. You're everything to me and Zoe. But if you believe this is the right path, then follow it. Just be careful. People like Caldwell live in a different world. Don't let them make you forget who you are. Her mother's words silenced Maya. She thought about this tiny apartment, where she'd grown up doing homework under dim lights, where her mother worked 2 jobs to raise them. She thought about Ethan, the man who had covered her with a blanket, instead of calling security, who listened as though her story mattered. But she also considered the risk, the judging stares, the whispers behind her back, and the real chance she could fail. I'm meeting with Mrs. Harris this morning, Maya said, her voice steady. I'll learn more about the role, but I won't let anyone, not even Mr. Caldwell, make me feel like I'm not enough. She looked at her mother, then Zoe, drawing strength from their love. Zoe hugged her, beaming. That's the Maya I know. Evelyn just nodded, but her eyes brimmed with both pride and worry. Maya felt a surge of new energy as she stood to get ready for work. She didn't know if she could conquer Ethan Caldwell's world, but she wouldn't let fear stop her from trying. She stepped outside, the early morning sun warming her face. Brooklyn stirred with the sound of children playing and the scent of coffee from Uncle Ray's cafe. But inside, Maya, a storm was building. She stood at a crossroads, a chance to change her life, and a path fraught with judgment and challenge. Did she have the courage to walk it? Only time will tell. Morning light filtered through the office window of Mrs. Linda Harris, Director of Human Resources at the Empire Heights Hotel, casting sharp lines across her stern face. Maya Johnson sat across from her, hands tightly clasped in her lap to hide her nerves. Her uniform, crisp white shirt, black skirt, was neatly pressed, but the worn-down heels of her shoes were a quiet reminder of the distance between her and this world of luxury. Last night, after speaking with her mother and sister, Maya came to this meeting to learn more about the VIP floor manager position that Ethan Caldwell had offered. But the moment she stepped into the gleaming glass tower, she felt her co-workers' eyes prickling against her skin like tiny needles. Mrs. Harris, a silver-haired woman, pulled into a tight bun, slid a folder across the desk. Ms. Johnson, she began, her tone calm but razor-sharp. Mr. Caldwell has recommended you for the VIP floor manager position. It's a significant promotion, double the salary, better benefits. You'd oversee services for our most high-profile guests, billionaires, heads of state, and the like. Maya nodded, trying to keep her expression neutral. The new salary would be enough to cover her mother's medical bills and help Zoe through college without needing part-time jobs. But the excitement was muted by a persistent question. Why her? "I'm honored, ma'am," she said, her tone composed. "But I'd like to understand why Mr. Caldwell chose me. There are others with more seniority." Mrs. Harris narrowed her eyes slightly, as if evaluating Maya's response. "Mr. Caldwell was impressed by your record flawless evaluations, perfect attendance, multiple letters of praise from VIP guests. But I'll be frank." She leaned forward, lowering her voice. "Some people will assume he chose you for personal reasons. You understand what I mean, don't you?" Her words landed like a punch to the gut. Maya felt her face flush, but kept her tone level. "You mean because I fell asleep in his suite?" she asked, sidestepping the more profound implication. But she knew what Mrs. Harris meant. A young black woman promoted by a wealthy white billionaire would raise questions not just about her ability, but about her integrity. Mrs. Harris shrugged slightly, though her gaze never left Maya's. "I'm not here to judge Ms. Johnson. I want you to be prepared. This role demands perfection. Even the smallest misstep can be magnified, especially given your circumstances." Maya clenched her hands tighter, her nails pressing into her palms. Circumstances. A harmless-sounding word laced with prejudice. She remembered her mother's warning. "They'll see your skin before they see who you are." She wanted to argue to say she had worked harder than anyone to earn her place, but she knew that wouldn't change how Mrs. Harris looked at her. "I understand," she said, her voice firm. "If I accept, I'll prove I deserve it through my work, not words." Mrs. Harris nodded, a flicker of admiration flashing across her face. "Good. I'll prepare the contract. You can start next week if you agree. Think carefully, Ms. Johnson. This isn't just a job, it's a whole new world." She paused, then added, "And if I may offer some advice, keep your distance from Mr. Caldwell, for both your sakes." Maya left the office, her mind spinning. Mrs. Harris's warning echoed, stirring her mother's doubts about Ethan's motives. But she couldn't shake the memory of Ethan's sincere eyes, the way he had listened to her as her story mattered. Was she letting emotion cloud her judgment? The soft lighting cast shadows across her face as she entered the elevator. In her reflection, she saw a strong woman, one riddled with uncertainty. Maya was reaching for coffee at the staff break room when she heard a whisper behind her. "Word is, she got promoted," came a familiar voice. Carla, the seasoned blonde employee, with her hair pulled tight. Falling asleep in Caldwell's suite and waking up a manager, the girl must know how to work after hours. A few people chuckled, then fell silent when Maya turned around. She stood tall, her gaze locking onto Carla. "If you have something to say, Carla, say it to my face," she said, her voice cold but unwavering. Carla shrugged, but her eyes gleamed with challenge. "Just small talk, Maya. No need to be so sensitive. But you should know, people like us don't climb high without paying a price." "People like us?" Maya repeated, voice sharp. "You mean people who work themselves to the brink just to prove they're not invisible? Thanks for the advice, but I don't need it." She turned away, her heart pounding. But Carla's words cut deep, reviving memories of being overlooked guests, bypassing her promotions denied because she didn't fit the image. On the subway ride home, Maya watched the Manhattan skyline recede into the distance. She thought of Zoe, who had urged her to seize this opportunity, and her mother who feared she'd lose herself in Ethan's world. She thought of herself, a black woman who had learned to stand tall against prejudice, but still feared she might not be enough. Could she take on the VIP manager role without being second-guessed at every turn? Did Ethan honestly believe in her? Or was she just an interesting story to him? When the train pulled into the Brooklyn station, Maya stepped out, the crisp morning air snapping her back to the present. She remembered Ethan gently placing the blanket over her, his warm voice asking about her dreams. There was something in him she wanted to believe, but she knew the path ahead wouldn't be easy. She would have to fight not just against prejudice, but against her doubts. Standing in front of her apartment door, the key quiet in her hand, She took a deep breath, resolute. She would meet with Mrs. Harris and take the job. Not for Ethan, but for herself, for her mother Zoe, and every time she had been told she didn't belong. But as she opened the door, she felt a storm gathering, filled with challenges she wasn't yet ready to face. The VIP floor of the Empire Heights Hotel shimmered under the soft glow of wall sconces, the air infused with a quiet blend of elegance and authority. Maya Johnson, now officially the floor's manager, walked with a professional stride, her tablet in hand, displaying a packed schedule of high-profile guests. Her new uniform, a tailored navy blazer and fitted skirt, gave her confidence, but the pressure of her colleagues' watchful eyes lingered like a shadow with every step. A week into the role, Maya had already proven her capability, from arranging private jets to ensuring the floral arrangements were hypoallergenic. But she knew too well that one small mistake could reignite the whispers that she didn't deserve to be here. Maya heard familiar footsteps as she reviewed a specialty meal order for a Japanese guest. She looked up, her heart skipping a beat. Ethan Caldwell stood in a slate-gray tailored suit, his dark brown hair neatly in place, gray eyes tinged with a warmth reserved only for her. "Ms. Johnson," he said, his voice low and calm. "Looks like you've taken command of this floor." Maya smiled, her tone measured and professional. "Thank you, Mr. Caldwell. I'm doing my best." She emphasized the formal title, drawing a clear boundary between them. Though she had once promised to call him Ethan, it felt safer to maintain distance, especially after Mrs. Harris's and her mother's warnings about his possible motives. Ethan tilted his head slightly, as if he sensed her guardedness. "I have something I'd like to discuss. Do you have a moment?" He gestured toward the private hallway that led to a small meeting room. Maya hesitated, recalling Carla's snide remark. She knows how to work after hours. But she nodded. She wouldn't let fear make her small. Inside the glass-walled meeting room overlooking Manhattan's glittering skyline, Ethan sat across from her, his hands clasped on the table. "I have an important business dinner coming up with the Lee Corporation, a Chinese-Singaporean family-owned conglomerate." He began, his tone calm but focused. "They're a potential partner for Caldwell Enterprises' sustainable energy project. I'd like you to join as a cultural advisor." Maya blinked, startled. "Cultural advisor?" she echoed, her voice laced with skepticism. "Sir, I don't have experience in that field. Why me?" She considered the consultants he could easily hire, Ivy League graduates and international experts. "I am not a hotel employee from Brooklyn." Ethan gave a small smile, though his eyes remained serious. "Because you understand family, something I have minimal experience with." He paused, choosing his words carefully. "The Lee family places deep value on tradition. They're bringing their matriarch, Madam Lee, the chairman's mother, who holds the final say. I need someone who can connect with them humanly, not just through numbers. Your file shows an intuitive grasp of guest needs. And your story, about your mother and sister, shows you understand what family means." His words struck a chord in Maya, but they also triggered caution. She remembered the night in the presidential suite when she had spoken of her mother and Zoe. Was Ethan now leveraging her personal story? "I'm honored," she replied carefully, "but I don't want to do anything beyond my capacity. If I'm to participate, I need to bring real value." Ethan nodded, a flicker of admiration crossing his gaze. "I expect nothing less. You won't go in unprepared. I'll provide background on the Lee family and their cultural customs. But I believe you have an instinct that no one else here does. Will you consider it?" Maya fell silent, her mind spinning. Attending this dinner could solidify her place and prove she was more than a token. But it also meant stepping deeper into Ethan's risk power and judgment world. She thought of her mother's warning about the conditions of men like him and Zoe, urging her to seize the opportunity. "I'll need time to prepare," she said at last. "If I do this, I want to do it well." "And She paused, inhaling deeply. I want to keep things professional, Mr. Caldwell. Ethan smiled, though there was a trace of disappointment in his eyes. Of course, Ms. Johnson. Professional. He stood extending a hand. I'll send the materials on the Lai family today. You'll have 2 days to prepare. Thank you for considering. Maya shook his hand, feeling the warmth of his grip before pulling away. As she left the room, her heart was beating faster than usual. She had just agreed to a significant challenge, and she couldn't deny the flicker of excitement mingled with uncertainty. That evening, back in the Brooklyn apartment, Maya sat at the kitchen table. Ethan's emailed documents spread before her. She read page after page, taking detailed notes on the Lee family's cultural values, from elder reverence to how they judge potential partners through shared principles. She learned about Madame Lee, a formidable woman who had helped build the family empire from scratch. Maya saw a reflection of her mother in her, the resilience and the sacrifices. She was determined to attend the dinner and make the Lee family see that she was more than just a hotel manager. Zoe walked in, eyeing the stack of papers. Studying to be a diplomat, she teased, plopping beside her. Maya laughed and then told her about Ethan's invitation. Zoe's eyes lit up. Girl, this is your time to shine. Imagine dining with billionaires, showing them how sharp you are. Maya shook her head, but the smile lingered. It's not that simple, Zoe. If I fail, people will say I never belonged. And I still don't know what Mr. Caldwell wants. She thought of Ethan's steady gaze and how he said her name. It made her want to trust him and to run at the same time. Zoe took her hand. He chose you because you're good. Don't let fear stop you. Do this for you, not for him. Her words felt like a breeze clearing Maya's doubts even slightly. As night fell, Maya stared out the window, Brooklyn's lights twinkling like distant stars. She knew this dinner would be an actual test, not just of her skill, but of her courage. She had to prove she belonged not because of Ethan, but because she had earned her place. Yet, deep inside, she sensed something else. A spark, a connection with Ethan she tried to ignore. Could she maintain the professional boundary, or was she already stepping onto a path from which she couldn't turn back? Midday Manhattan gleamed under radiant sunlight, but it felt like she was walking into a storm. Maya Johnson. She stood outside a high-end fashion boutique on Fifth Avenue, clutching the black credit card Ethan Caldwell had handed her that morning. Dinner with the Lee family requires appropriate attire. He had said, his voice calm, but leaving no room for refusal. This is a business expense, not a gift. Maya had reluctantly agreed, but now faced with the boutique's glimmering glass display, she felt like an outsider. Her simple work outfit, a white blouse and black slacks, contrasted starkly with the $1,000 evening gowns showcased inside. She took a deep breath, recalling Zoe's words. Sis, go shine. Maya knew this dinner was more than a test of her ability as a cultural advisor. It was her chance to prove she belonged in Ethan's world, even if just for one night. But her mother Evelyn had warned her. Men like Caldwell always come with conditions. Was she walking into a trap she couldn't yet see? Inside the boutique, the air was cool, and the refined scent of luxury perfume hung. A sales associate, blonde hair pulled back in a high ponytail and wearing a tight, polite smile, approached. "Can I help you?" she asked, eyes scanning Maya's outfit with a familiar hint of judgment. Maya recognized the look. She had seen it far too often at Empire Heights. She kept her tone calm. "I need an evening gown for a business event." Elegant, understated. The associate raised a skeptical eyebrow, but when Maya presented Ethan's credit card, her demeanor shifted. "Oh, Mr. Caldwell's card." He called ahead. "Please come with me to the private fitting room." Maya followed, but the unease didn't leave her. The woman's change in attitude wasn't about Maya's merit. It was about Ethan's name. It made Maya feel like an imposter in a world where she didn't belong. Inside the fitting room, Maya tried on several gowns before settling on a navy blue dress that hugged her figure and highlighted her smooth brown skin with clean, refined lines. The dress made her feel confident and yet unfamiliar. As she stepped out for a final look in the mirror, a sudden flash went off outside the boutique window. Paparazzi. Before she could react, the associate hurried to draw the curtain, but Maya knew it was too late. Her heart pounded. How did they know she was here? She left the boutique with the gown carefully packaged, but the feeling of exposure clung to her. On the way back to Empire Heights, her phone buzzed non-stop. Zoe had sent a message. "Sis, you're on the internet. Someone got pics of you at that boutique." Maya opened the browser. Her blood ran cold. A gossip site headline blared, "Billionaire Caldwell's mystery woman luxury shopping on Fifth Avenue." Photos showed her entering the boutique, along with a close-up of Ethan's credit card. The post was spreading across social media. The comments stung. Who is she to be spending Caldwell's money? Gold digger. Maya felt her breath catch. She wasn't a gold digger. She had worked her whole life and never asked anyone for handouts. But those words, those images, they painted a different picture, a black woman taking advantage of a wealthy white man. She thought of her mother Zoe and co-workers like Carla, who would use this story to prove that Maya had climbed too high incorrectly. At Empire Heights, Maya was immediately summoned to Linda Harris's office. Mrs. Harris sat behind her desk, face stern. "Ms. Johnson, have you seen this?" She rotated her laptop to display the tabloid article. "Our hotel cannot be caught in a scandal. Mr. Caldwell is negotiating with the Lee family, a group that values reputation above all. Do you understand the consequences?" Maya nodded, trying to keep her voice steady, even as her chest ached. "Ma'am, I didn't intend this. Mr. Caldwell instructed me to purchase attire for the business dinner. I didn't know there were paparazzi." She felt she was defending herself for a crime she hadn't committed. Mrs. Harris sighed, her tone softening slightly. "I believe you, Maya. But the public doesn't care about the truth. They see a hotel staff member, a woman." She paused, but Maya knew what she meant. A black woman. "You need to be more careful. You will be held accountable if this scandal affects Mr. Caldwell or this hotel." Maya left the office with her mind spinning. She thought of Ethan, the man who had trusted her with a key role at the dinner. Was she dragging him down with her? She thought of her mother, who would read this article and be more worried than ever. She wanted to cancel the dinner return to Brooklyn and leave Ethan's world behind. But she couldn't. She had promised herself she would prove she was worthy and wouldn't let gossip or prejudice break her. That night in the small Brooklyn apartment, Maya sat at the kitchen table, the desk lamp casting a warm glow over the Lee family dossier. She reread her notes, trying to focus on their values and traditions, but the article haunted her. Zoe walked in, wrapping her arms around her sister from behind. "Don't let those people get to you. They don't know how strong you are." Maya gave a faint smile, her eyes stinging. "I just want to do my job well, Zoe. But the harder I try, the worse it seems to get." She thought about Ethan's warm gaze as he invited her to dinner. Did he know about the article? Did he regret choosing her? Zoe sat down, her tone firm. "He picked you because you're good at what you do. Don't let them make you doubt that. Go to that dinner and show them exactly who you are." Zoe's words felt like a spark in the dark, reminding Maya why she had taken this path, not just for her family, but for herself. As night fell, Maya looked out the window at the blinking lights of Brooklyn, like tiny stars scattered across the city. She knew that dinner with the Lee family would test more than her knowledge. It would test her strength. She had to prove she belonged in this world, not for Ethan, but for herself. And yet, deep down, she couldn't deny a quiet glow, a fragile connection with Ethan, no matter how much she tried to suppress it. Could she maintain her professionalism? Or was she already crossing into a path she couldn't turn back from? The private dining room at Empire Heights Hotel, with glass walls opening onto a sparkling Manhattan skyline, was perfectly prepared for dinner with the Lee family. Crystal glasses shimmered under the chandelier's glow, and a vase of pure white orchids graced the center of the table. In a form-fitting navy blue evening gown, Maya Johnson stood inspecting the final details. She had personally overseen everything from room temperature to the menu sequence to ensure it aligned with the Lee family's preferences. But her heart pounded not just from professional pressure, but from the awareness that every eye would be on her, a black woman from Brooklyn stepping into the world of billionaires. Last night's tabloid article about her shopping trip still haunted her. The cruel comments, "gold digger, unworthy," cut like knives. But Zoe's voice echoed in her mind, "Show them who you are." Maya took a deep breath, smoothed her dress, and adjusted her hair, which was pulled into an elegant updo, exposing the graceful lines of her neck. She wasn't here to serve. She was Ethan Caldwell's cultural advisor, and would prove her worth. The door opened and Ethan entered dressed in a perfectly tailored black tuxedo. He paused, his gray eyes scanning her, and for a moment, she caught a glimmer of admiration. "Ms. Johnson," he said, his voice low and warm. "You look very professional." But the slight curve of his lips hinted at something more. Maya smiled, maintaining her boundaries. "Thank you, Mr. Caldwell. Everything is ready." She emphasized the formal address, a reminder of her promise to stay professional. But Ethan's presence and the subtle trace of sandalwood in his cologne made it harder to keep focused than she cared to admit. The Lee family arrived precisely on time. Mr. Lee, the chairman of the conglomerate, his wife, their 2 grown children, and Madam Lee, his mother, a petite woman, radiating authority. Ethan introduced Maya with confidence. "Ms. Maya Johnson, VIP floor manager, and my cultural advisor. She's ensured every detail of tonight meets your expectations." Madam Lee studied Maya with sharp, probing eyes. "A working woman," she said in accented English. "Interesting. Do you understand what family means, Ms. Johnson?" It wasn't a polite question. It was a challenge. Maya nodded, her tone calm. "Yes, ma'am. My mother taught me that family is strength. It's why we do everything we do." Madam Lee gave a slight nod, but her gaze remained critical. Dinner began, and Maya quickly demonstrated her poise. She spoke less and listened more, but when she did contribute, it was with care. When Mr. Lee asked about Caldwell Enterprises' sustainable energy strategy, Maya stepped in with gentle confidence, emphasizing the importance of community, something she knew the Lees deeply valued. "In Brooklyn, where I grew up," she said, "we believe a project only succeeds if it benefits everyone, not just those at the top." Her words earned a nod of approval from Mr. Lee. The pivotal moment came when Madam Lee asked about Maya's family. Ethan tensed beside her, but Maya responded openly. "My mother raised my sister and me alone after my father passed. She's ill now, but her spirit is strong. She taught me that leadership isn't about power, it's about responsibility to others." She met Madam Lee's gaze and saw something change, recognition of fellow matriarch who had once sacrificed everything for her own family. Madam Lee smiled, a rare expression. "You understand family better than many in your position, Ms. Johnson." She turned to Ethan. "You've chosen well, Mr. Caldwell. Someone who knows their roots won't forget the ground beneath them when they reach for the sky." As dessert was served, the atmosphere grew lighter. Maya and Ethan moved in sync, answering the Lee family's questions and exchanging glances of quiet understanding. Maya realized Ethan didn't just rely on her as an advisor, he trusted her. And that trust warmed something deep within her, dangerously so. After the list departed, with a promise to continue partnership talks, Maya and Ethan lingered in the now quiet dining room. City lights reflected off the glass around them, creating an almost romantic scene. "You did wonderfully," Ethan said, his voice soft. "Madam Lee rarely praises anyone. You made them trust me and you." Maya smiled but kept her distance. "Thank you, Mr. Caldwell. I was doing my job." Still, she couldn't ignore how he looked at her, as if she were the most critical person in the room. Ethan stepped closer, his gaze earnest. "Maya, I saw the article. I'm sorry. I didn't realize giving you that credit card would cause such a stir." His sincerity caught her off guard. "But tonight wasn't just business, was it? You felt it too, didn't you?" His question struck deep. Maya had felt the connection, trust, and something even more profound that she couldn't name. But she remembered the article, her mother's warning, the judgment in Linda Harris's eyes. "Mr. Caldwell," she said, her voice firmer than she intended. "I'm here to do a job. I don't want to complicate things." Ethan nodded, though his eyes never left hers. "I understand, but I want you to know I don't see you as just an employee. You're—" He paused, searching for the right words. "You're someone who makes me want to be better." Her heart pounded at his words, but she turned away, clenching her fists to stay composed. "It's late. I should go." She left the room, but she could feel his gaze trailing her. She stared at her reflection in the elevator, at a strong woman standing at a dangerous crossroads. Tonight, she had succeeded. But at what cost could she protect her heart? Or had she already stepped too far into Ethan's world? The morning after the dinner with the Lee family, the VIP floor at Empire Heights Hotel pulsed with its usual rhythm. Phones ringing, staff moving swiftly, and the subtle scent of fresh flowers drifting in the air. Maya Johnson stood in the hallway, tablet in hand, reviewing the schedule for an arriving royal guest. Her navy blazer fit perfectly, but her heart felt heavy. Last night, she had shined in front of the Lee family, earning Madam Lee's respect and a meaningful look from Ethan Caldwell. Yet his words, "You're the person who makes me want to do better," still echoed in her mind, making it harder to uphold the professional boundaries she had so carefully built. News of the dinner's success spread quickly through the hotel. Linda Harris had sent a congratulatory email, calling Maya a valuable asset to Empire Heights. But her moment of quiet pride was shattered when she received a message from Zoe Sis' new article. "They're calling you Caldwell's mystery woman." Maya clicked the link, and her blood went cold. Another tabloid headline blared across her screen, accompanied by photos of her and Ethan at dinner. "Billionaire Caldwell enchanted by hotel staff." The comments below were cruel and full of judgment, based on her race and background. She clenched her phone, fighting back tears. She had never sought scandal, but the media had decided for her. Trying to refocus on work, Maya heard the sharp rhythm of high heels against the marble floor. She looked up and her stomach dropped. Sophia Langley, a tall, elegant white woman in a deep red fitted dress. Sophia exuded the confidence of Manhattan's elite. Her family owned a real estate empire, and she had once dated Ethan for several years. Her eyes scanned Maya, like she was nothing more than a decorative fixture. "Ms. Johnson, right?" Sophia said sweetly, with unmistakable malice. "Yes," Maya replied, voice calm. "How can I help you?" Sophia sat down on a guest chair, legs crossed with polished grace. "Oh, I'm just curious about the woman who has everyone, including the Lee family and Ethan, talking. I must say you've made quite an impression." She tilted her head, eyes sharp as glass. "But let's be real. Ethan has a taste for novelty. You're a refreshing change, a touching little story from Brooklyn. But you don't belong in this world. And deep down, you know it." The words hit like a punch. Maya felt the heat rise to her face, but stood tall, refusing to let it show. Ms. Langley, if you have business with Mr. Caldwell, I'll happily schedule a meeting. Otherwise, I have work to do. She turned to leave, but Sophia leaned in, her voice dropping to a sharper edge. Don't pretend, Maya. I know Ethan. He once tanked a major deal, the Thompson project, because he let emotions cloud his judgment. Hundreds lost their jobs. If you keep this up, you'll drag him down. And the hotel with him. Is that what you want to be the reason for another failure? Sophia stood, her smile like a blade. People like us stay together. That's how the world works. Maya gripped her tablet tightly, her nails digging into her palm. She wanted to fire back, to scream that she wasn't a gold digger, that she had earned her place through years of relentless effort. But Sophia had struck a deep fear, the fear that Maya could hurt Ethan, that she didn't belong. She remembered Mrs. Harris's wary look, her mother's warnings, and that headline this morning. They all surrounded her now like a noose. Thank you for the advice, Maya said coldly but firmly. But I don't play your games. If you're finished, you can leave. Sophia shrugged, smile never fading, and walked away, leaving Maya with her heart racing and confidence shaken. Back in her small office, Maya closed the door behind her. The article was still open on her phone, a photo of her and Ethan exchanging glances over dinner. She couldn't deny the connection in that look, but Sophia's words lingered. Was Ethan truly seeing her as a partner, or was she just another experiment? She thought of her mother, who had sacrificed everything to raise her and Zoe, who believed she could conquer anything. But she also thought of Ethan, the way he listened to her and trusted her in front of the Lee family. Was she letting fear sabotage something real? Her phone buzzed. A message from Ethan. I saw the new article. Are you okay? Meet me on the VIP floor at 3. We need to talk. Maya stared at the screen, her fingers hovering over the keyboard. She wanted to type, I'm fine, or I can handle it. But she wasn't sure. Sophia had planted doubt, and it was growing. She stood and looked out the window, where Manhattan stretched endlessly into the horizon. She thought of Brooklyn, the small apartment where her mother and Zoe were likely reading the duplicate headlines. She had spent her life proving she wasn't invisible, but Ethan's world seemed determined to remind her she didn't belong. She took a deep breath, resolved not to let Sophia or the media win. She would meet Ethan, not to seek reassurance, but to face herself. But as she stepped out of the office, she knew this conversation would change everything. Late afternoon on the VIP floor of Empire Heights Hotel, the atmosphere was quieter than usual. Only the sound of keyboard taps and soft murmurs from staff lingered in the air. Maya Johnson stood in her small office, eyes fixed on Ethan Caldwell's message. Are you okay? Meet me on the VIP floor at 3 p.m. We need to talk. After confronting Sophia Langley and that morning's tabloid scandal, Maya felt she was balancing on a thin wire. Sophia's words, "You don't belong in this world," had cut deep, reigniting insecurities about her race and where she came from. And yet, Ethan's message, brief but concerned, was something she couldn't ignore. She took a deep breath and replied, I'm okay. 3 p.m., VIP floor. As she hit send, her heart pounded. She wasn't sure she was ready to face him, not after what he said the night before. You're the person who makes me want to do better. But she knew running wasn't who she was. At precisely 3 o'clock, Ethan appeared in the hallway, white dress shirt unbuttoned at the collar, black trousers, and an unusually relaxed air. His gray eyes searched for Maya, immediately laced with rare worry. Maya, he said in his low voice. Thank you for agreeing to meet me. I saw the article. I'm sorry. Maya crossed her arms, keeping her tone calm. It's not your fault, Mr. Caldwell. I know how the media works, but I don't want to be the center of stories like this. She thought of her mother Zoe and Linda Harris's sharp gaze. I just want to do my job well. Ethan nodded, though his eyes never left hers. I understand. But you're not just doing it well, you're exceptional. The Lee family was still talking about you this morning. Madam Lee said you were the reason they're considering the partnership. He paused, carefully choosing his following words. I know this has been hard with the media and… Sophia, I didn't know she'd come here. But whatever she said, don't let it define you. Maya faltered, unable to hide her hurt. She said you once canceled a major deal because of emotion. That if I stay here, I'll hurt you. If I'm a risk to you or your company, I can't stay. She looked him in the eyes, searching for truth. Ethan exhaled deeply, sitting across from her. The Thompson deal. Sophia's partly right. I canceled it, but not because of feelings. They were planning to cut corners on safety. I couldn't let that happen, even if it meant getting backlash. His voice dropped, honest and still. You don't hurt me, Maya. You help me see what's worth fighting for. He held her gaze. You make me feel alive again, he said softly. I've been living for work too long. But you, with how you fight for your family and yourself, made me want something more. I needed you to know that, before you decide what comes next. Maya's heart clenched. His words reached something deep inside her, a part that longed to believe she was worth more than she had ever dared to think. But she remembered Sophia's sneer, the headline, her mother's warning. People like them aren't for us. Mr. Caldwell, she said, her voice firmer than she felt. I don't want to complicate things. I need time. Ethan nodded slowly, but a glint of something sparked in his eyes. Then, let me understand you better not. My world. Yours. Have dinner with me tonight in Brooklyn. No cameras. No pressure. Just pizza. A playful smile tugged at his lips. Unless you think I can't handle the subway. Maya burst into a laugh, tension cracking just slightly. The image of a billionaire squeezed onto a Brooklyn subway in designer shoes was too much. Still, she hesitated. Going with him would be crossing a line she had carefully drawn. But something in his eyes, not pity but sincerity, made her want to say yes. All right, she said quietly. But you have to take the subway. And call me Maya. Ethan smiled brightly, a rare, unguarded grin that warmed her unexpectedly. Deal. 7 o'clock. Subway station by Uncle Ray's. I'll wear something. Less billionaire. He turned to leave, but glanced back once more. And Maya. Thank you for giving me a chance. As Ethan walked away, Maya remained seated, her heart thudding. What had she just agreed to? She thought of Sophia, the tabloids, her mother's wary eyes. But she also thought of Ethan, how he had admitted his faults and wanted to step into her world. It was a risk, but for the first time it felt like a risk worth taking. That night, Maya stood in a black t-shirt and jeans at the Brooklyn subway station, her curly hair loose and natural. She watched Ethan emerge from the crowd, black shirt, dark jeans, a little disoriented but still striking. He waved, flashing a boyish grin. I survived the subway, he declared, making Maya laugh aloud. They strolled through Brooklyn streets, where kids played basketball on public courts, and the smell of bread wafted from Uncle Ray's. Maya led him through the community park, telling stories of festivals she'd attended with her mother and Zoe. Ethan listened intently, asking about the neighborhood's history and the neighbors who helped her family in hard times. His curiosity wasn't performative, it was real, and that made Maya open up more than she expected. At Uncle Ray's, a cozy pizza spot with family photos lining the walls, the owner, Ray, a jovial black man with a wide grin, recognized Maya immediately. Maya, haven't seen you in a while, he called out, eyes narrowing as he noticed Ethan. And this is Ethan, Maya introduced gently. Ethan shook Ray's hand and chatted about pizza like a local. They sat in a quiet corner sharing a large cheese pizza. Ethan took a bite and lit up. I might fire my private chef for this, he joked. Maya laughed, the sound unfiltered honest. When they left, night had fallen, the street lamps casting a soft glow on their faces. Maya led him to a quiet neighborhood corner, a spot she often visited to think. They stood together in the hush, the space between them tender. Thank you for showing me, Brooklyn, Ethan said quietly. It's more real than any boardroom I've ever been in. Maya looked at him, her heart softening. Thank you for coming. But Ethan, this doesn't change the truth. Your world and mine, they're different. She paused, her voice lower. I don't want to be the reason you get hurt. Ethan stepped closer, eyes locked on hers. Maya, you don't hurt me. You make me want to fight, not just for business, but for something real. He reached up his fingers, brushing her cheek. Before she could pull back, he leaned in and kissed her soft, full of emotion. The world melted away. When they parted, Maya was breathless. We can't, she began. But Ethan interrupted, voice husky. Let's give us a chance, Maya. Just one night. No boundaries, no worlds, just us. Maya gave him a faint, bittersweet smile, but a new flame had been lit inside her. She invited him to breakfast with her family the next morning, a bold move. As she returned home, Brooklyn lights flickering outside her window, Maya knew she had stepped onto a path she couldn't walk back from. But for the first time, she wasn't afraid. Early morning sunlight streamed through the kitchen window of the small Brooklyn apartment, casting a soft glow on the wooden table where Maya Johnson was slicing fruit for breakfast. The scent of waffles baking in the oven filled the air, carrying memories of warm weekend mornings with her family. But today, the atmosphere felt heavier than usual. Maya had invited Ethan Caldwell for breakfast, a bold step following the emotional kiss they'd shared the night before in Brooklyn. She wore a gray t-shirt and jeans, her curly hair loosely tied back, but her heart pounded with anxiety. Her mother Evelyn and her younger sister Zoe were about to meet Ethan, who stirred both desire and fear in her. Evelyn sat at the table, the soft hiss of her oxygen tube the only sound in the room. Despite the toll chronic obstructive pulmonary disease had taken on her body, her mind was still sharp, her presence still formidable. Are you sure about this, Maya? She asked in a low, steady voice. Inviting Mr. Caldwell here isn't a small gesture. Who is he to you? The question landed like a pin to Maya's chest, poking at her most profound uncertainty, the line between her and Ethan. Maya paused, lowering the knife. He sees me, Mama. Not just as an employee, but as me, Maya Johnson. But I don't know where it's going. I want him to understand my world. She thought of the kiss the way Ethan had moved through Brooklyn the night before, with a rare sincerity. But she also heard Sophia Langley's voice echo, people like us stay together. Zoe burst into the kitchen, nursing textbook in hand. Sis, he's here, she said, peeking through the window. Oh my God, he's driving a normal Audi, not some flashy car, and he's holding flowers. Zoe's excitement made Maya smile, but it also raised the stakes. She wanted everything to go well, but she knew her mother wouldn't welcome Ethan easily. A soft knock echoed at the door. Maya took a deep breath and opened it. Ethan stood in a pale blue shirt and jeans, holding a bouquet of white lilies and a bakery box from a local shop. He smiled, but his gray eyes revealed nerves. Good morning, Maya, he said gently. Thank you for inviting me. Evelyn stood surveying him from head to toe. Mr. Caldwell. She greeted, her tone firm. "Welcome to our home. I'm Evelyn, Maya's mother." Ethan stepped forward and handed her the flowers. "It's a pleasure to meet you, Mrs. Johnson. Thank you for having me. Maya has spoken a lot about you." He shook hands with Zoe, who beamed, and turned back to Evelyn with quiet, genuine respect. Breakfast began with hot waffles, maple syrup, and a table full of tension. Evelyn's questions were pointed from his business ethics to his intentions with Maya. "You run a financial empire," she said, eyes locked on him. "How can you possibly understand a family like ours, living off savings and stretching every paycheck?" Ethan nodded, not deflecting. "I don't pretend to understand everything, Mrs. Johnson. I grew up without much of a family, only my grandfather who taught me profits, not people. But Maya has shown me what sacrifice and love truly mean. I'm here to learn, not to impose." His words were honest, and Maya saw a faint softening in her mother's eyes. Trying to lighten the mood, Zoe spoke up about her dream to become a nurse and asked Ethan about his sustainable energy project. He answered enthusiastically, but Maya noticed how often his eyes flicked toward her, as if checking to see if she was still okay. The warmth of the moment shattered when Zoe's phone buzzed. "Sis, you need to see this." She turned the screen toward Maya, and Maya felt her blood drain. Another tabloid headline: Caldwell goes street billionaire spotted slumming with hotel staff in Brooklyn. The article featured a photo of Ethan entering their building the night before, with a quote from a source close to Sophia Langley: "Ethan's losing control under pressure from the Lee deal. This relationship is a sign of instability." Maya looked at Ethan and saw his hand tighten into a fist beneath the table. "This is Sophia's doing," he said, voice hard. "I'll handle it. I'm calling legal now." He reached for his phone, but Maya placed her hand gently over his. "Don't, Ethan. This is exactly what I'm afraid of. She wants you to choose the company or me. You need to go. Protect what you've built." Ethan looked at her, fire in his eyes. "Maya, I'm not choosing. I want both the company and you. These headlines don't change how I feel." He held her hand, but Evelyn interrupted, her voice low and clear. "Mr. Caldwell, I believe you're sincere. But Maya cannot be the one who gets hurt because of your world. Think carefully." Maya felt her heart tearing in two. She wanted to be with Ethan, but the idea of being his burden was unbearable. She thought of the first headline, Linda Harris's wary glances, Sophia's cutting voice. "Ethan," she said, voice trembling, "I think you should go. I need space to think." Ethan stood slowly, pain evident but respectful. "I understand, Maya. I'll give you space. But I won't give up. This us is worth fighting for." He turned to Evelyn and Zoe. "Thank you for breakfast. I hope to be back again someday." He walked out, leaving the room heavy with silence. Zoe hugged her sister, her voice soft. "He likes you, sis. Don't let Sophia win." Evelyn took Maya's hand, her gaze kinder now. "Baby, I want you safe. But if this man is something real, only you can decide what's worth the fear." Maya sat back down, her eyes landing on the bouquet Ethan had left on the table. Her phone buzzed, a message from him. "I'll handle Sophia and the article. Just give me a chance, Maya." She didn't reply, but she couldn't stop her heart from thinking about him, about how he ate pizza with her, the respect in his eyes when he met her mother. She knew she was standing at a crossroads. Choose safety or risk everything for something bigger. As Brooklyn's sunlight filtered through the kitchen window, she felt a new kind of strength rising inside her. She wouldn't let the media or Sophia define her, but she needed time to find her answer. The conference room of Empire Heights Hotel, with its long wooden table and glass walls overlooking Manhattan, was steeped in tension. Maya Johnson sat at the far end of the table, her hands tightly clasped to hide their trembling. She wore a navy blazer, her curly hair pinned into a neat bun, but her eyes betrayed her unease. The boardroom was filled with senior hotel executives and representatives from Caldwell Enterprises, all gathered to discuss the media scandal involving her and Ethan Caldwell. The latest headline dripping with venom about Ethan losing control in Brooklyn had shaken investor confidence, caused the Lee family to waver, and triggered a dip in stock prices. Maya felt like the eye of a storm she couldn't control. Head of Human Resources Linda Harris rose from her seat, her voice measured but firm. Ladies and gentlemen, the Lee family has expressed concerns about our public image. They value stability and reputation. We recommend temporarily reassigning Ms. Johnson from the VIP floor to ease media pressure. Her tone held no judgment, but her gaze toward Maya was unmistakably loaded. Several board members nodded, murmuring in agreement. Maya's heart clenched. She had worked tirelessly to prove herself managing the VIP floor and helping Ethan through the crucial dinner with the Lee family. And yet now she was being treated like a liability, not because of incompetence, but because of who she was, a black woman who dared to get close to a white billionaire. She remembered Sophia Langley's words, "You don't belong in this world." Her mother's too. Be careful not to get hurt. She wondered if she should step away for Ethan's sake, for her own. Before she could speak, the doors opened, and Ethan Caldwell entered, exuding quiet command in a sleek black suit. The room fell silent. His gray eyes scanned the room and stopped at Maya, offering her a look filled with reassurance and resolve. "No one is reassigning Ms. Johnson," he announced, his voice cutting through the air like steel. "She is the most valuable asset this hotel has. I will not allow media hysteria or prejudice to dictate her future here." One board member, Mr. Reynolds, frowned. "Mr. Caldwell, our stock is down 10%. The Lee family is hesitating. We must act to protect the deal." Ethan's voice sharpened. The Lee deal was built on values and trust that Ms. Johnson exemplified. To remove her now would be to betray those very principles. Maya's heart pounded. Ethan was risking his reputation and the company for her, and that only made the ache in her chest grow heavier. She stood, her voice shaking, but steady. "I'll make this easier. I resign." The room froze. Ethan turned to her, stunned. "Maya, no, don't do this." But she cut him off, her tone firmer. "Ethan, I won't be the reason your company collapses. I won't be the reason Liz walks away. I've tried, but maybe—" Her voice faltered. "Maybe Sophia was right. I don't belong here." Before Ethan could respond, the door opened again. Sophia Langley walked in a sleek gray dress, her confident smile sharp as ice. "Always so dramatic, aren't you, Ethan?" she purred. "The board is only trying to protect your interests. Ms. Johnson stepping down is the best decision for everyone." She held up a tablet displaying a steep stock dip. "Investors are panicking. You can't let a relationship destroy everything." Maya felt heat flood her face. Sophia's words cut deep, but she refused to give her the satisfaction of a visible reaction. Ethan, however, didn't hold back. He stepped forward, voice low and dangerous. "Sophia, you've gone too far. These articles, these sources, are all you do. I've already instructed legal to investigate. You will be held accountable." Sophia shrugged, but her eyes flickered with unease. "I'm just telling the truth, Ethan. You need someone who fits your world, not someone who drags you down." She turned to Maya, flashing a blade-like smile. "No offense, Ms. Johnson." Maya said nothing, but a fire ignited inside her. She was done being pitied, done being minimized. She turned to leave, but Ethan stepped in front of her, voice husky. "Maya, don't. Please hear me out. He turned back to the board, eyes blazing. I built Caldwell Enterprises on integrity and innovation. If any of you think I'd sacrifice a woman like Maya Johnson to satisfy the press or boost a stock price, then you don't understand who I am. She's not just a VIP floor manager. She's the one who taught me that authentic leadership means doing what's right, even when it's hard. He looked back at Maya, his voice gentling. And I love her. Not for show, not as a rebellion. I love her because she makes me better. The room was silent. Maya stood frozen, tears burning behind her eyes. She hadn't expected Ethan to say it, not here now, in front of the board, and Sophia. But fear still tugged at her. Love like this could destroy him. Sophia broke the silence with a screech. You're insane. The Lee family will walk. The shareholders will revolt. But Ethan cut her off. The Lee family will stay if we stay true to our values. And as for the shareholders, he turned to the board. I'll hold a press conference today. I'll announce the formation of a new ethics oversight committee. And I'd like it chaired by Mrs. Evelyn Johnson, Maya's mother, if she accepts. She has the community insight our health initiative needs. Maya gasped. He was appointing her mother to a leadership role. She opened her mouth to object, but Ethan's eyes held steady confidence. He meant it. Linda Harris stood cautiously. Mr. Caldwell, this is a bold move. The board will need time to review. Ethan nodded but didn't look away from Maya. Take your time, but Maya stays. Not because of me, because she earned it. He stepped closer. Maya, stay. Let's face this together. Maya looked at him, her heart pounding. She thought of her mother Zoe, and all the moments she had been judged for her skin roots and ambition. She thought of Ethan, who was willing to risk everything for her. She reached for his hand. Her voice was soft but steady. Okay, Ethan, I'll stay. The board meeting ended in stunned silence. Sophia walked out pale with rage. Maya and Ethan remained hand in hand, feeling the weight of the decision they had just made. She knew the road ahead would be brutal media firestorms, public scrutiny, and prejudice from every direction. But for the first time, she didn't feel alone. 3 months after the fateful board meeting, Maya Johnson stood again in the presidential suite of Empire Heights Hotel, where everything began. Manhattan's glittering lights sparkled through the floor-to-ceiling windows, reflecting softly on her navy silk dress. It wasn't a gala gown, but a simple, elegant design, fit for the strong woman she had become. She looked out at the city, heart full of emotion. From an exhausted employee who fell asleep in this very room, she had become a respected VIP floor manager. And more than that, the woman Ethan Caldwell loved. Ethan entered quietly, in an open-collared white shirt, his gray eyes warm as they landed on her. Still inspecting the suite, Ms. Johnson, he teased, voice low and affectionately. Maya turned, smiling. Just reliving old memories, Mr. Caldwell. Someone once tucked me in here, and now I can't seem to get rid of him. They laughed easily, naturally. The intimacy between them now felt as effortless as breathing. The past 3 months had been a whirlwind of challenges and joy. Ethan's press conference, where he publicly declared his love for Maya and announced the restructuring of Caldwell Enterprises, with Maya's mother Evelyn leading the new ethics committee, had stunned the business world. At first, the media had been skeptical. However, as the community health initiative began delivering tangible results, criticism faded and admiration grew. The Lee family, especially Madam Lee, remained in support. She praised Ethan for returning to the values of family. After failing to sabotage them, Sophia Langley left Manhattan quietly, leaving behind a reluctant public apology. Maya stepped toward Ethan, touching his hand. Madam Lee called today, she said, pride in her voice. She wants my mom to consult on a healthcare project in Singapore. Mama can't believe she's on a call with a billionaire. Ethan smiled, pulling her gently closer. Evelyn is incredible, like her daughter. He kissed her forehead, and Maya felt her heart bloom with warmth. Together they had learned to balance two worlds. Ethan had become a regular at Uncle Ray's, played basketball with Brooklyn kids, and mastered the subway without complaint. Maya, still working at Empire Heights, had grown comfortable at charity galas, beside Ethan, meeting curious stares with quiet confidence. They never pretended their class, race, and origin differences didn't exist, but they learned to let those differences strengthen them. Suddenly, Ethan's expression turned serious. He gripped her hand tighter. Maya, there's something I want to say. He led her to the sofa where they'd first talked that night. 3 months ago, I told the world you changed me, but I didn't say the most important thing. He dropped to one knee, pulling a simple silver ring from his pocket, crowned with a sapphire blue, like the dress she wore the night of the Lee family dinner. Maya Johnson, you didn't just change my company. You changed my life. You taught me that success isn't money. It's the people we love. Will you marry me? Maya froze, breath catching in her chest. Tears welled in her eyes. She thought of their journey, how he'd covered her with a blanket, kissed her under Brooklyn stars, stood in front of a boardroom, and defended her when the world turned cruel. She thought of her mother, who once warned her about men like Ethan, but now proudly called him a good man. She thought of Zoe, who always believed in fairy tales. Before she could speak, the door flew open and a small crowd burst in. Evelyn Zoe Ray from Uncle Ray's, Linda Harris, and most shockingly, Madam Lee. Zoe squealed, phone raised. You're live, sis. Say yes. Evelyn, oxygen tube. Steady, but smiling radiant, held Madam Lee's hand, who nodded encouragingly. Child, Madam Lee said, her voice glowing. He needs you. Maya laughed through her tears, turning to Ethan. You planned this, didn't you? Ethan gave a sheepish grin. I needed your family here, Maya. They're part of us now. Maya knelt beside him, taking his hands. Yes, Ethan. I'll marry you. He slipped the ring on her finger, and the room exploded in applause. Evelyn was the first to embrace them, whispering, Your father would be proud, Maya. Madam Lee stepped forward, taking Maya's hands. I told you that night, he needs someone who remembers the ground when he reaches for the sky. You are that someone. Zoe danced around, live streaming for all of Brooklyn, while Ray declared there would be a pizza party in their honor. That evening, after an impromptu celebration at Uncle Ray's, Maya and Ethan escaped to the rooftop of her Brooklyn apartment. Stars scattered the sky above them, the city lights blinking in the distance. Ethan wrapped his arms around her from behind. Happy, soon-to-be Mrs. Caldwell, he whispered. Maya leaned back into him. More than happy. But you know, the wedding has to include Ray's pizza. Ethan chuckled, kissing her hair. And the subway ride to the ceremony, I promise. He pulled out his phone and opened an email. One more surprise. I bought the presidential suite, this suite for us, as our home after the wedding. Maya shook her head, laughing. You are a billionaire. Beneath Brooklyn's stars, all her old fears of judgment, of the media, of not belonging, melted away. Their love hadn't erased the challenges, but it had given her the strength to face them. She held Ethan's hand, sapphire ring glinting, and knew their story from a single unexpected moment to a love that endured, proved that differences don't divide us. They complete us.